I'm Kaylee, and I think I must be crazy because I've set myself a really ridiculous reading goal. That's right, I am going to try to read all 7 of the Chronicles of Narnia books in 7 days. I figure each one of these is about 250 pages long. I can read that in 24 hours. So my goal is that I'm going to read one every day. Before we dive in to this ridiculous, crazy goal, I'm gonna reach back here to our Booktuber Shoutout book. And we're gonna shout out somebody randomly. Today's shout out goes to Taking Tea with Catherine. I'll leave a link to their channel over in the description, so be sure to go over and subscribe to them. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe to this channel and follow me over on Goodreads and Instagram if you wanna hear all about Narnia. I am a massive fan of the Narnia books. I think I first read them when I was probably about 10, and I just devoured them, and then I devoured them again, and then I kept coming back and rereading all through my teenagehood, all through my young adulthood, and now through my middle age, I guess. I just keep coming back. I just can't put them down. I just keep coming back for more. Every time that I reread the series, I see something new. I see it from some different perspective. I notice some little background detail that I had never really considered before. There is just so much there to discover and rediscover. Now, some of you may have noticed as I've been holding these up that I am not holding them in chronological order. I am holding them up in publication order. I actually belong to a club called the 2456317 Club. If you hold up the books in order in the publication order, you'll notice that it's 2456317, right? In order to be a member of this club, all you have to do is believe with all your heart and soul that the publication order is superior in every way to the chronological order. And so that is the order in which I will be reading these for my 7-day challenge. I am going to do a whole nother video just detailing all the many lengthy reasons of why I believe that the publication order is far superior to the chronological order. And there will be plenty of ranting about why the publishers are wrong and how I just can't stand it that the publishers always publish it in chronological order, and it gets on my nerves. But that is a discussion for another day. I also want to say a word about these particular editions. I really like the cover art of these. This is the Scholastic Edition, and I really love, oh, this is my favorite. The cover art on these is all just, ooh, so iconic. And so this one doesn't have the dust cover. That makes me really sad. Magician's Nephew, of course, the tree, and then Last Battle, the bloody horn of the unicorn. So just, oh, so much gorgeous artwork. And I really wish that I had them all in hardback and all with the dust covers, but I don't. Some are paperback, some are hardback, some are without dust covers, and that makes me sad. However, I own, is it 6? I think it's 7 different sets of the Narnia series. I'm a little bit of a crazy collector, and so I just have a lot of them, and I can't help it. I go into a bookstore and I see some new beautiful edition, and I'm just like, oh, I have to have it. These editions, though, I have picked up piecemeal here and there at different used bookstores, and that's why they don't all match. They're just kind of a ragtag group here, which is why I've chosen to do this particular reading, this time around reading them from this edition. Because this is sort of the ragtag edition that don't match, and also because these have quite wide margins, I decided to do what I never do and write in the book. I'm actually taking notes as I go along, which I never do. I do not write in books. I do not highlight or underline or anything. At the very most, I will put a little sticky tab on somewhere, but I don't write in books. However, considering that I have 7 different editions of the series, and these are just kind of the ragtag group, then I figured, you know what, this will be the note in the margins ones. Even the paperbacks just have really lovely wide margins, plenty of room for note-taking. So today is day 1, and I have of course started out with The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I finished reading through it just a few minutes ago. And I have a sticky note for myself at the beginning listing the 10 leadership traits from Crystal Hurd's book, The Leadership of CSLewis. In her book, she lists 10 leadership traits that CSLewis personified and exhibited in his life, and she also gives a few examples from the Chronicles of Narnia of how his characters exhibited those leadership qualities. And then that got me kind of inspired and thinking like, ooh, I just want to look through and see what are all the places where these particular leadership qualities are exhibited in the characters, or maybe the lack of those leadership qualities. So one of the leadership qualities is humility. So I've been going through and I will write down a place where somebody showed humility. So I've written here humility because somebody showed humility. But there are also a lot of places where I've written down pride if the character showed the lack of that leadership quality, if they showed the opposite. I've been marking all kinds of things. I've been marking wherever trees are mentioned, wherever birds are mentioned, wherever the quality of the light or darkness or shadows, or like there was a torch, a light, or moonlight, I've been marking it on the sides. Then I can go back and kind of see how are these things connected. I've also been marking anytime that warmth or cold are mentioned. So I've got all kind of interesting parallels and imagery and things that I'm like, ooh, how is this? Is this a theme that continues through all the books? Is this cold versus warmth type of imagery only used in this first book because there's so much going on with the snow and the White Witch and everything? So I'm hoping to have some videos in the future kind of analyzing some of my findings and some of the different imagery that is used and how that ties all these stories together. So in case you didn't know, this book is about 4 siblings, Peter, Susan, Lucy, and Edmund, and they find themselves stumbling through a magic wardrobe into the enchanted land of Narnia, where animals can talk and the White Witch uses her magic to make it always winter and never Christmas. The siblings have to travel to find the great lion Aslan, who is the only one with the power to defeat the White Witch. This series, and this book in particular, is just so near to my heart, not only because of the nostalgia as I read these books again and again and again, but also for the deep spiritual themes of sacrifice and redemption, especially in this first book, and these themes that mirror Christ's salvation for this poor sinner. I find myself, especially in the first book, relating really closely with each of the siblings as they begin their spiritual journey with Aslan. There are just so many wonderful Christian themes and parallels. Reading through it this time, it's really amazed me how very deep and specific the imagery is that represents very particular verses in the Bible. Every time I reread this book, it's just like a breath of fresh air and a joyful light. Of course, the story itself is wonderful with an exciting plot and a magical setting. The characters are deep and complex with lots of character growth, especially Edmund. And the writing paints a picture for you and calls up this emotional response in you with just a few words. There is just something so enchanting about this series and about this first book. And it's no wonder that it has appealed to generations of readers. So that is day 1, and tomorrow, day 2, I will be reading Prince Caspian. I'm having so much fun already. Oh my gosh, I love this. And I can't wait to share all of this with you guys too. It is day 2, and I'm here with my lovely mug of turmeric tea. Delicious. It's so cold today, and so it's so nice to have a warm cup of tea. And I have finished reading Prince Caspian. In the publication order, this is number 2 in the series. In this book, Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy are back in Narnia again, but it is not the same as the Narnia that they left behind. Narnia has changed a good deal, and now the Telmarines, the evil Telmarines, are in power. And all of the dwarves and fawns and magical creatures and talking animals have had to go into hiding. The siblings go to war to help Prince Caspian reclaim his throne and to restore all of the old Narnian dwarves and the tree people and the fawns and the talking animals. I really love the themes of obedience and faith in this second book. The siblings at first try to rely on their own wisdom and they ignore Aslan's instructions and they get into big trouble. It is only when they follow Aslan and obey with faith that things start to go right again. I really love Prince Caspian's character. He just grows so much within a few chapters as he begins to realize the responsibilities that come with kingship. He matures and he takes his duty very seriously to serve the people of Narnia. I am loving this reread so much. I'm finding so much interesting imagery that's kind of built into the setting. For example, times when they talk about light or shadow or moonlight, and it really not only sets the scene, but it also has kind of moral implications, like when it's dark, then something evil must be going on. And then when the light comes, that's the light of truth and righteousness that is shining through. So I am just enjoying this so much. And now this edition is also full of my little notes as well. It's kind of amazing that I've had time to actually finish this book because I spent most of the day hanging out with my little nieces and hanging out with my sister-in-law and my mom. All the ladies in the family came over to my house for lunch and we just had a blast playing all kinds of games. And when I say games, I mean like the kids barricaded themselves under the dining room table and they were like covering up all the holes between the chairs and underneath the legs of the chairs with pillows and blankets. And then the adults, we had to storm the castle and try to get them. And there was lots of squealing and screaming and fun. And you can't take my pillow and stuff like that. So we just had a ball. Things got a little rowdy with their dining room table pillow fort for a while. But somehow, through all the rowdiness, then when everybody was gone, I had some time to read and I was able to finish Prince Caspian. On to book 3. Right, so it is the morning of day 4. I spent most of day 3 reading The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, but at about 11 o'clock at night, I was staying up past my bedtime to read some more, and I got to the chapter of the Dark Island, and I was like, oh no, I'm not reading this chapter. I'm not reading the Nightmare chapter right before bed. Absolutely not. So I quit reading and I went to bed and actually got a good night's sleep and got up this morning and finished the rest of the book over my breakfast. In this third book of the series, Lucy and Edmund are back in Narnia, this time accompanied by their annoying cousin Eustace. The siblings join King Caspian again, this time on a quest to go to the easternmost edge of the world. They sail through rough seas and encounter sea monsters. They chart magical islands and fight battles. But the greatest adventure of all is what they find at the edge of the world. This is my favorite of the entire series. It just appeals to something deep inside of me on so many levels. The magical adventures and the spiritual themes, and poor idiotic Eustace and his character development, and the beautiful imagery and all the imaginative settings. All these things just resonate with me in special ways. And there are so many sweet little moments that really tug at your heart. And of course, the most striking part of the story is Eustace. He has an adventure of his own that brings about a spiritual transformation. He's wandering around on one of the islands and he has a terrible adventure, and then he meets Aslan, who literally reshapes Eustace from the inside out. Eustace begins as a thoroughly prideful and annoying person, but his encounter with Aslan starts him on a spiritual journey of healing. It doesn't happen overnight, but Eustace learns to be a better person, and his heart is finally open to faith and love, whereas before he didn't even know what those things were. I just love Eustace's storyline in this book. There are so many fabulous things about Voyage of the Dawn Treader. I could just spend the next 10 minutes just talking about this one, but we have to move on. So today's book is The Silver Chair, so I need to get reading. So it is day, I don't even know what day it is of the reading, I'm not sure. I have finally just now finished Silver Chair. So I'm behind. I do know that. I don't know what day it is, but I know I'm behind. But that's okay. We're gonna try to catch up later on. I just got busy, life, things, and I got really busy doing other things and didn't have as much time to read. Finally finished reading this, and I've enjoyed it so much. In The Silver Chair, Eustace has returned to the world of Narnia, this time with his classmate, Jill Pole. The two friends are charged with a quest to find the missing Prince Rillian, who disappeared 10 years ago. Joining them in their journey to the north is a marshwiggle named Puddleglum, who guides them through the land of the giants. This book just keeps getting better and better every time that I reread it. This time rereading through it, I was struck with how many times forgetting and remembering are mentioned. I have tons of little notes on the sides to say remembering, forgetting, all sorts of little notes. The whole theme of the book is about the children trying to remember Aslan's instructions regarding the quest. Unfortunately, they often forget the instructions, and they forget the signs that they are supposed to be looking for on their quest. And of course, that theme has a spiritual layer as well, since we as Christians have received spiritual instructions about how to live a holy life, but we forget and we make mistakes. The characters in this book, Eustace and Jill, have a very different dynamic from the previous books. The first books in the series follow the Pevensey siblings, who are all very close and very affectionate with one another. But Eustace and Jill are barely even friends at the beginning, and they're very grumpy and peppery with each other throughout most of the book. It's kind of funny to see their different personalities and how they interact with each other, but they both have excellent character development, and of course they learn and grow and change through all of their adventures. So this one has been fantastic, but now I really need to knuckle down. I'm gonna have to read two of them tomorrow. I'm gonna have to read The Horse and His Boy and Magician's Nephew both tomorrow if I want to catch up. So we're gonna see, let's see. Horse and His Boy is one of my favorites. I think I could probably fly right through it. It's 223 pages. And then Magician's Nephew is 202 pages. Okay, we can do it. We can do it. I'm just gonna keep saying that until it becomes true. Oh man, just do nothing all day tomorrow except for read. In my haste to catch up with my reading, I finished most of The Horse and His Boy last night, finished up the rest of it this morning, and without even skipping a beat, I dove right into Magician's Nephew. I don't have the dust jacket for this one, so I'm just showing you the spine. Horse and His Boy, I think, is my second favorite out of the entire series. Voyage of the Dawn Treader is definitely my first favorite. Actually, I think probably Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe is my second favorite, and then Horse and His Boy is third. I don't know. Every time I reread them, that order changes, and my favorites keep changing. So The Horse and His Boy is about Shasta, who has lived with a poor Calorman fisherman for all of his life. His adopted father is very cruel, though, and so when Shasta meets a talking horse named Bree, together they make plans to run away and flee to Narnia. Along the way, they meet some other runaways, Aravis and Hwyn, and together they have to sneak through the bustling city of Tashpan and cross the desert to reach the borders of Narnia. I think that this particular book is so interesting because we get to see another culture and another country other than Narnia. They have a different culture, they have different traditions, different beliefs and values. Unfortunately, their culture is mostly cruel and immoral. The Calorman people own slaves. They seem to be greedy and selfish, but they do value wisdom and beauty and poetry. It's just a very rich, a very complex culture, and the world building is just so excellent in this book. And this is another book where we have a very different dynamic between our two main characters, Shasta and Aravis, and of course their friends Bree and Hwin. In the first books of the series, the Pevensey siblings are all very close and affectionate with one another, and now Shasta and Aravis don't like each other. They're very... They are definitely at odds with one another from the very beginning. And they're just kind of thrown together, and they have to rely on one another because they have no other choice. And in the end, they begin to value one another and to appreciate all that the other person brings to the table. They have such great character development, and I just love it so much. One thing that struck me about this book is the themes of change. Of course, we have character development that changes, but also just like the setting keeps changing as they are traveling through forests and crossing rivers and going into the city and crossing the desert. And then when they get to Narnia, everything is just so different. So there's a real theme of how Aslan is changing them. Their journey has changed them. Everything changes. Another great theme in this one is about resilience. There are just so many difficult situations that they go through. It seems like a lot more than the other books. And they just keep picking themselves up again and going forward and moving forward with their plans and with their journey. Even when it seems like they cannot put one more foot in front of the other, like they just can't take another step, and somehow they find some strength deep inside themselves, that resilience, and they are able to continue. I just love this so much. So I've actually gotten quite a good ways through Magician's Nephew. I'm on page 152, so I've only got 50 pages left. I will easily finish this tonight at bedtime, and I'll film again tomorrow and tell you all my thoughts about Magician's Nephew, and then I will be diving right in to Last Battle. Tomorrow is the last day. We're gonna do it. 7 books in 7 days. Here we go. Right down to the very last one. Magician's Nephew is actually my least favorite, I think, of all the Narnia books. However, this time rereading it, I have been enjoying it a lot more than I think I have enjoyed it in the past. Partly because I'm just looking so carefully and analyzing for all of those spiritual themes, and there are just so many good ones in Magician's Nephew. So I'll be finishing this tonight, and we will continue on tomorrow. Good morning! Today is the last day. Today is day 7. The very last day that I have to finish up all this reading. So last night, right before bed, I finished reading The Magician's Nephew, and now I am ready to dive in to the last battle today on the last day, just barely by the skin of my teeth making it. Many people think of Magician's Nephew as if it were the first book in the series. If you read the series chronologically, then Magician's Nephew, I suppose, could be considered the first book. But I always read the Narnia books in publication order. I am very, very adamant about publication order being correct. In which case, The Magician's Nephew is book number 6, and it is considered a prequel. And reading it through this time, so many more things stuck out to me as being, this is definitely a prequel. This is the language and the style of it and everything just says, it just screams prequel. The way that this is written assumes that you have already read other books in the series. So in this prequel, we learn the origins of the world of Narnia and how Aslan first created the talking animals and other creatures of Narnia, and how humans first came to Narnia. It's really fascinating to see the magic of Narnia in those first moments of its creation. And I love those little elements in the story that we recognize because we are familiar with them from the other books. We get this little aha moment of delightful recognition when certain elements of the magic are explained or different things in the story are explored. This whole book has such a deep emphasis on history. This is a story that is being told from the ancient past, and it focuses a lot on the history of different worlds. The weight of history just lies very heavily on this book. Once again, the characters in this book have a little bit more of a peppery relationship. Diggory and Polly are kind of awkward around each other in the beginning a little bit. They are pretty argumentative through most of the story. Polly is much more cautious and sensible, and Diggory is much more willing to take risks, and he is willing to just be swept up in the adventure and not really think too much about the consequences. It's really interesting to see how eventually they do become a good team. And of course, they both have wonderful character development. Especially Diggory has incredible temptations that he has to face. One of the themes, of course, is parallels to the Garden of Eden, so it's all about temptation. There are a lot of really wonderful Christian themes and parallels in this one. Although it is my least favorite of the series, it is still amazing, and I really enjoyed reading through it this time. I still give it 5 stars. It's just in comparison to the other books, it's my least favorite, but it's still incredible. So I'm all done with this one. It's still the morning, so I have all day to finish up the last battle, but I don't think it'll take me very long. Maybe 2.5, 3 hours maybe to finish this one up. And then I will be back later on today to tell you my thoughts about the last battle. So I'm back. It is about 7 o'clock on the very last day, 7 o'clock on day 7. And I have finished reading the last battle. I did it, you guys. 7 books in 7 days, and I reread the whole series, and it was so much fun to read them all back to back that way. This morning I woke up with a little tickle in my throat, and now it's like just over the last few hours, just barely over the last 7 hours, it has progressively gotten worse, and now I feel like I'm starting to lose my voice, but I've got my tea to soothe my throat, and I'm just gotta get through this last little part of the video before my voice completely gives out. Oh, that's good. Okay, I really hope I'm not getting sick. This morning I was kind of in denial, like, no, I'm not sick. I am not sick. It is just a little tickle in my throat and it will go away, but it's just getting worse and worse. And now I'm pretty sure that I have a cold or something, God knows. And I would really like to throw myself a pity party right now, but then I thought, you know what? If the Pevensey children can brave the cold snows of the White Witch's winter, and if Prince Caspian can have the courage to fight battles to reclaim his throne, and if Eustace and Jill can stand up to the giants, and if Shasta and Erebus and Bree and Hwyn can run cross-country in enemy territory, searching for freedom, and if King Tyrion and Jewel the Unicorn can stand up for the truth at the end of days, then I can certainly have the courage to survive without complaining through a little cold. All of the heroes of Narnia have inspired me to persevere and be resilient and courageous through the little difficulties of life. Okay, so let's talk about the last battle. King Tyrion hears rumors that Aslan is back in Narnia, but he's not sure if he can believe it. When he investigates, he discovers that a false Aslan has been masquerading and fooling the Narnian people. He calls on the children of the ancient past, the friends of Narnia, to save Narnia from imposters and traitors. Eustace and Jill arrive just in time to rescue Tyrion himself, but they feel helpless of how to fight all of these lies that have been built up around the false Aslan. How can you possibly get people to believe the truth when they've just swallowed so many lies? This book is full of both powerful grief and immeasurable joy. I cry every time that I reread it. It is just so piercingly beautiful. The imagery is really vivid and every scene is just like this startling revelation. Even the quiet scenes when the characters are just regrouping, even those scenes have some small detail that shows something important that is going on beneath the surface. I really love the inward journey that the characters have to take. There's not a lot that they can really do outwardly because it's more about this philosophical battle of truth versus lies. But of course, there are some actual physical battles with swords and spears and arrows as well. They have to learn to be resilient and courageous in the face of overwhelming odds. They have to do their duty, even if it means their deaths. They despair and they grieve and they lose hope. But then they remember their courage. They place their trust in Aslan and they find a way to continue on. Because this book tells about the last days of Narnia and the ending of that world, there are a lot of parallels to biblical prophecy and the hope of heaven that every Christian carries. The theme of faith is very strong in this story, as every character has to make a choice about what is true. What did they believe in? But there are a few spiritual parallels that don't actually match biblical theology, but it is nice to just imagine a fun fantasy world and not expect every little thing to perfectly align with real Christian truth. Reading this book is sort of bittersweet, not only because of the grieving and the content, which is bittersweet, but also it's bittersweet because it's the last one in the series, and I just want Narnia to go on forever and ever. It's always kind of sad when you finish a book that you truly love, and especially when it's 7 books that you truly love, and then you're just like, oh, it's over. Reading this series has just been so fabulous. I don't think I've ever read them quite in such quick succession before. So it's been really amazing just to absolutely dive into this world and completely immerse myself in it. And this time around, I was being much more analytical with my reading and taking little notes and noticing little parallels and just little things that reminded me of something else. And it's been like just really exciting to read such a favorite series this particular way. And I must say, it's been kind of nice to put this series as my priority in my day. So whatever else happens, you had better get your reading done, and everything else in life just has to take a back seat. It's like, I've got my priorities straight because books come first. Please leave me a comment down below and let me know, have you read the Narnian series? Do you read it in chronological or publication order? Which one is your favorite book from the Narnian series? And do you tend to read them kind of spread out over months? Or when you reread them, do you just read them all really quickly, one right after the other? Please be on the lookout in the future for more Narnian videos from me. Now that I've reread them this time, I've gotten really inspired. I've got tons of ideas for some Narnian videos that I'm going to be talking about this series a lot more in the coming months. So please leave me a comment down below and let me know, do you have some ideas for Narnian videos that you want to see, particular subjects that you want me to talk about Narnia? Maybe you have a video idea that I haven't thought of, and I would love to get some inspiration from you guys. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and remember, the right book in the right hands at the right time can change the world.